some time to practice?
Yeah, just yeah, about an hour. When you say practice, you mean just play some games, right?
Yeah, just warm up. Obviously, when I like once we do our sessions, you know what you need to be practicing, and I'll give you a routine that you can do to practice the certain skills.
Okay.
But yeah, just warming up is a good start. Yeah, we've already talked about, what your goals are, what you're hoping to achieve. Um, do you have any rough idea of what your strengths and weaknesses may be?
Okay. So I hmm. So I think like by default, if if I try to improve like on my own without like watching videos on YouTube and stuff, I'd
Hmm.
probably play more maybe like how Iron plays, with like more positional
Okay.
and stuff.
Yeah.
But but that's kind of boring, right? Because
Yeah.
all my friends they're and the people that I know they play more like a little more aggressive. I think they play faster. They do a lot of they move a lot. And so I decided to try to tap into that a little bit. Um, but
Yep.
but by
So,
default, right? Let me like so like when I
okay.
just I think this was like my first Call of Duty. I think Modern Warfare 2019, and I think I started like maybe at 0.8 KD, and then I tried to improve my KD on that, and I took it up to like one, and I started like it went gradually up from 0.8 to like one, and then a little above, and then I then it got boring because I I was it was easy for me to get like maybe a 2 or 3 KD in like in domination or TDM or whatnot, but I felt like I was only getting that um because I was playing like very like kind of passive, kind of more thinking than being in the moment. Um, and super methodical, and so I would get, I would, yeah, I mean, but then I started to not like that, and I also realized that my movement wasn't like that good. My precision wasn't like really, really good because it then started to show when I started to play Warzone because like when you're playing multiplayer, you don't have to like sustain fire in one um on the enemy for too long. And then when I started to play Warzone, I and I'm looking at like how the pros play. It's like I see them playing and they can keep the precision is just there throughout. Like as once you're shooting the enemy, it's like all the shots are hitting. And so that's when I realized like, whoa, okay, I probably need to improve my aim and then my movement. But I started with aim, and I've been doing all sorts of experiments for the last like maybe uh, like 7 or 8 months, and I've learned some things gradually, but and then like maybe this like yesterday or 2 days ago, I started to work on my movement for the first time. Um, so that's where I am. I don't my aim isn't that good, and my movement isn't either. It's very because I just started. It's very like clunky, like clumsy. So I
Okay.
mhm.
Um, yeah. How many years have you been playing on controller besides
um
2019 Modern Warfare?
but like so this is I'd say like I've the only game I've played before this would be like maybe FIFA, but this is like my first
Oh,
FPS.
okay. Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Fair enough. That's more than enough time, I think, since you've been playing multiplayer.
Mhm.
What kind of controller do you have?
Well, so I have the one that I use is normal DualShock 4 with the back button attachment.
Okay, sweet. So those back buttons that you have, what have you got them bound to?
Okay, so I think the right one is jump and the other one is slide. So left
So your
is
right hand you jump with, or
mhm mhm.
which one's jump? Sorry.
The right one.
So
Hello.
your right hand.
Mhm. The right hand is
Okay.
jump at the
Um.
back.
Okay. So you're gonna want the your left hand to jump
Oh really?
because you don't want to jump and aim and shoot all with the same hand. So if you have jump on the back right, so your right middle finger to jump, you're gonna use your right middle finger to jump. You're gonna use your right thumb to control the thumbstick to aim, and then
Mhm.
you're gonna use your index finger to shoot. Now these are three different actions all being used on the same hand, and
Mhm.
in doing so, in trying to jump shot, your aim's gonna suffer, and your shot's gonna suffer. So you want to split the tasks up. So you want jump on your left hand, so jump on the left side of the controller, so
Mhm.
that you can aim and shoot with the right side of your controller, your right hand, if that makes sense.
Mhm. This. That right. Yeah.
But yeah, if you
Go ahead. Go
yeah,
ahead.
if you can swap that around and just mentally remind yourself, because it is really bad to have it on the right side.
Okay, that makes sense. I can I do that after this because that's gonna take like
Yeah,
a
yeah, for
week
sure.
for me to get used to. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
you,
100%.
do you know me? I mean, can I tell you the stuff that I've done so far in terms of like practice and stuff?
Yeah,
Okay, so these are some of the things that I found that were new to me that I didn't know, and it's kind of right in line with what you said about the where the buttons are. So I probably found this out maybe after I got the back button attachments. I realized that for me to hit these the buttons at the back properly, I had to change the way I hold the controller because I was realizing that I couldn't do certain things because it was difficult. So I had to have like a specific different grip. So what I noticed was okay, the way you hold the controller matters. And then also another thing that I did was I did what do you call it aim trainers. So I was on a PC and I did I think aim lab and
okay.
after like doing I think it's the one that helps you with tracking. I it's that's pretty boring, right? It's very very boring for me. But I did it a couple times, maybe for like a few days, and what I got from that was that my my hand muscles probably um they aren't hitting or I'm not I probably need to stress them out a little bit more because after I did the aim training my hands were hurting like a lot, but I also felt that's because they were my muscles were stretching to different places and angles that it wasn't used to, which sometimes like when I'd be shooting I'd be shooting and I can't hit a shot mostly because I don't think my muscles are used to getting to that angle, you know what I mean? So
Yep,
that's
yep,
what I've found out with doing a little bit of aim training. Like, whoa, like you need to be swinging this right stick like in every direction, like a lot. Um,
yep.
yeah, so that's yeah. I mean, let me see if there's anything else. I have a lot of questions about aiming. I mean, I don't know if now is a
Yeah,
good
for
time.
sure. Yeah, we'll definitely cover aim censoring, and you can fire away your questions. Do you
Oh,
want to just start with your settings? Do you want to run through your settings real quick with me?
yeah, yeah. Let me know what you need before asking questions, because if I start, I'm probably not gonna stop. So my dead zone is well, controller is that what you want to know? Controller settings or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all right? So I'm using tactical flipped, stick presets default, um, invert vertical look that's disabled. Dead zone is 0.05. My sense is 7 for both. My ADS multiplier is zero point 0.9. Um, high zoom is 1. Aim response curve is linear. Um, control vibration is off. I'm playing with no aim assist right now. Um,
Okay.
well,
All right. Let's talk about the curve. So
Mhm.
Is there a reason why you chose linear?
Yes, it's because so this is like I like to feel like I have like a lot of control, right? And I
Yeah,
found that like when I was using dynamic or the other ones, that it would slow down and like it
yeah,
wasn't linear. And then to me, like with linear, I could it's exactly
yeah,
it doesn't slow down or speed up. It's just one like it's just to me it's
yeah.
fluid, and I like that. But I mean,
Okay, cool.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I use linear for the exact same reason.
Oh shit. Okay.
Um, I u- Additionally, so I can snap from target to target. You can't do that with dynamic or standard. So like how mouse and keyboard players, they're aiming at one guy and then they just snap onto the second guy.
Mhm.
You can do that with linear and a high sensitivity on controller. So
Mhm.
that's why I use it. I recommend to everyone to use dynamic, but if you like the feel of moving your thumbstick X direction to the right and your crosshair moving X direction to the right, corresponding to your thumbstick movement, then linear is the way to go.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I I don't know if I feel like I like a lot of control too. That's why I took off aim assist because um sometimes like when I'm shooting at an enemy with aim assist, somebody runs in front of me and it swings the aim off. I was like, what the fuck, man? You know, like if you're hip
Yeah,
firing. Hmm.
you definitely don't want to play without aim assist.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that is sure that might happen to you, but it's you're at a huge disadvantage playing without aim assist. Um, the way aim assist works in this game is if you're we'll just talk about centering now, I guess. So if you're aiming at someone, let's say you're aiming at someone's chest, so you're ADSing at someone's chest.
Hmm.
Now, without aim assist, you're going to have to control your right thumbstick the entire time when you're shooting. You're going to have to control it, make sure that it's moving with his chest as he's moving. You have to be moving your thumbstick the entire time. And it's going to be a lot of movement. It's going to be a lot of precise movement. The way aim assist works is if you're aiming at the chest, aim assist, the system is going to stick to all the surrounding body parts to the point in which you're aiming. So the neck, the head, the shoulders, the arms, the chest itself, the stomach, it's going to stick to all these areas and you're losing out on that if you're not playing without aim assist. So it's hugely disadvantageous. So I would highly suggest aim assist, and I recommend standard aim assist.
Okay. Also,
Now,
go ahead,
yeah,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
yeah, you got.
Oh, okay.
I was
Oh,
gonna ask how do
mhm.
you.
Go, go, go.
I was just gonna ask how you aim. Like, do you think that you're more of a multiplayer type of guy where you see someone and you just start shooting? Like aim and start shooting?
Man, I don't know. That's the thing, right? Like, so we're aiming. Let me just say what I was going to say about the aim assist too, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
one of the reasons I took aim assist off too was to see really how bad my aim was, and I think that playing with aim assist off has helped me improve a lot with my precision. It's not perfect yet, but it has helped me to a point that I'm satisfied with where it is. But you're right. I think I lose some gunfights a lot of like some gunfights because I don't have it on. But I think the issues that bug me are not those that much. You know what I mean? Because I know I could turn aim assist on later in the future, and I know disabling it has helped me to be more precise. But I think I have bigger things that I know that I'm not too good at. What was your question? Um, what
Oh
time
yeah, with your center.
um
Yeah, basically a centering question. Like when you see
mhm,
someone, what do you
mhm.
do? Like you see someone in front of you, like what are you doing?
um
Like do you just aim at the ground and then just move up and start shooting? Do you just start shooting and then aim in? Do you, like what do you do?
okay, so that's so the take my technique would be I try to center as much as I can before I aim down sight.
Okay, cool.
If like if I'm not nervous, but if I'm nervous, I'll just kind of fucking. So I'd say that I probably could improve that technique a little bit in like the sequence of it, to make sure that I'm
Okay.
centered as much as I can before I
Okay.
But I that's what I try to
Well,
do.
this yeah. Yeah, yeah. The sequence of it there's three steps. So to do your aim centering in a sequential way, the first thing you need to make sure you do is that you center your camera on the target. So whoever you're trying to shoot at, make sure they're both vertically and horizontally in the center of your screen.
Mhm.
So vertically meaning that your camera is at about chest level, horizontally meaning they're equally left as they're right. So the space on the left of them is equal to the space on the right of them. So they're in the middle of your screen. Now, that's the first part of aim centering, camera centering. Second part is precision crosshair centering. So if you've centered your camera both vertically and horizontally on somebody, so they're in the middle of your screen, your crosshair is going to be on them as well, because your crosshair is centered wherever your camera is centered. Now, if your camera is a bit off, left or right, or up or down, horizontally, vertically, then your crosshair is also going to be a bit off. So if that's the case, and you've come to step two now, you need to just move your crosshair towards their chest.
Mhm.
Step three is wherever you ADS is where your crosshair is going to be pointed. So assuming your camera is both horizontally and vertically centered on someone, your crosshair will be both horizontally and vertically centered on them too. And then when you ADS, you'll be ADSing where your crosshair is. Ideally, your crosshair needs to be on the chest, so you'll be ADSing at the chest. And then when you combine that with standard aim assist, you will stick to the chest when you shoot. So you'll be aiming at the chest,
Mhm.
but then aim assist will help you stick to the chest. So it's really there to just help you stick your shots.
Mhm.
So you really don't want to, yeah, again, not play without it because you're losing out on that free help. It's free
Mhm.
help. You don't want to lose that.
Okay. Um.
But yeah, that's what you do.
Okay. So I have some questions about aiming, right?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
I but based on what you said, that's interesting. I've never layered it that way yet. But like, so in the past, the questions I've had would be like, or actually, let me just go into this, right? Like the thing, it's very like specific and detailed. Let me know if I'm
Yeah, yeah,
overcomplicating it. So one thing I've seen is right, like I've tried to shooting at enemy. I tried to do multiple things already. I've tried to try to look at the enemy while it's moving, uh, and try to track it with my eyes. Um, and I find that that's very difficult for me to do, and I'm not sure why. But what I then I tried a different technique, um, which is I look at the enemy in relationship to the surrounding. So let's say the enemy is in the frame of a door. Instead of actually looking at the enemy, I'm not hard focusing on the enemy. I'm just like soft focusing, but I'm looking at the edge of the door, and I tell myself, okay, he's a little to the left of the door. All right, and I found that I get more precision by sending that information to my brain instead of trying to like just look at it with my eye like the target. Um, and then I found that so I found that like yeah, I'm not looking at the fucking target and just looking at the the environment with the target in it, and
yeah.
and how then the relative distance of whatever uh, thing I'm focusing on at the time. I found that I'm more precise that way, but I also found that that's also very fatiguing to do. And I was like, fuck this, like it's like if I want to hit like super precise shots. So I've tried um both of them are very hard for me. So sometimes I mix it up, right? Because I've found that sometimes you need the one that you're looking at the environment or other like visual cues in the environment. Example, like if you see the what do you call it, the tag, uh, the name of the enemy at the top, and you don't see them, you could shoot below it, right? But you're not looking at the enemy because you can't probably see it that well. So are using that. So like I guess the first the technique would be like using visual cues around the environment to to hit the enemy without looking, because sometimes like also when you're shooting the iron sights and the smoke from the gun, it's just like I can't see what the fuck I'm shooting at. So it's sometimes I look at the surrounding. So I found that okay, Sometimes I use that. Sometimes I use something else. But I'm wondering if there's more that if I'm missing something or I'm overcomplicating it. You know.
Yeah, so what you described seems like it should only be relevant when you're trying to shoot at someone like through a bush or through a tree or through smoke or something. You can just live mark them and just use that live marker as your visual cue. But when you're trying to aim at people in general, what you should be looking for ideally is just looking at their head or their chest. But if you think that's too difficult, then just look at where your crosshair is. So that white dot in the middle of your screen. Just have your eyes, when you're trying to aim at someone, looking at that crosshair and try to line up that crosshair with the enemy. So you should only be looking at centering that crosshair. You know, your camera first and then your crosshair. But don't look at objects and stuff. I think that's a bit unnecessary.
Mhm.
All it really comes down to is making sure that white dot in the middle of the screen is at the chest. You just need to line that white dot up with the chest, and aim assist does the rest.
Okay.
That's, I think you are overcomplicating it a little bit. That's all
Mhm.
there is to it.
Mhm. Okay, so what about in the instances where you're like close range and the enemy just has like crazy movement to line up the crosshair with the enemy while you're tracking so much is it's like a lot of information to be putting in, you know. I mean, would it apply to like very close range like that or?
Yeah, well, obviously, if he has crazy movement, he's a good player. So obviously, tracking him's going to be difficult. It's not going to be
Mm.
easy trying to track someone with good movement. That's the whole point of good movement.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then it's going to be difficult. Even for high level players, it's difficult.
Mm.
But
Okay.
it comes with experience and practice with it.
Yeah.
Most people don't have movement. Most people just run horizontally. They don't even jump. They don't even drop shot. They don't slide cancel. They're just strafing left or right, or they're just coming forward. So they're very easy to center on.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, there's no tips for trying to track people with good movement. You
Yeah.
just have to, yeah, I guess, just practice it.
Right, right. Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, that feels like I also thought about that too. It's like fuck, this guy just is. You got to be careful. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Um.
yeah. When we talk about decision making and advantages and everything else, um, talk about movement and how that fits into the equation. So I'll teach you what you need to do for any situation. Like if you're trying to engage a situation, or you're wanting to disengage from a situation, I'll teach you exactly what you need to be thinking in those moments,
Mhm.
and you know what thought process to utilize, no matter the situation, no matter the game. Um, and movement is one of the factors that you need to consider. So if you have really good movement, then your chance of winning the fight is much higher.
Mhm.
So if
Is this person on your list?
no, he's not.
Well, he's not on my list.
That's odd.
Uh, let me. Wait. Oh, he came up.
I
Wait,
just
what?
kicked him. I'm not sure
Okay.
who that is.
Okay.
I'll just put my party privacy to invite. Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Mhm.
Is anybody that I've coached? I've only got people that I coach on here. Um, anyways, as I was saying, yeah, movement is one of the most important things, especially in
Mhm.
close range fights. So we'll go over that. That's for sure. I'll teach you how to do that. Um, but as for aim centering, yeah, all there is to it is those three aspects: camera, crosshair, ADS. There's nothing more to it than that.
Nice. Okay. Uh, I think you said something and I had a question for it, but that person doing and that's like it threw me off a little bit.
Yeah, I was just talking about decision making. So,
Mm.
movement influencing your chance of winning an encounter. We'll cover that in detail later,
Okay.
when we talk about decision making. What we're going to do for this session is I'm going to be spectating you,
Mhm.
go onto your servers in a moment, but I'll be spectating you and we're going to draw examples out of your gameplay to
Mhm.
break down, and then
Mhm.
I'll break them down in terms of the way you gathered information, the way you made decisions, perhaps positioning. And what I teach you will apply to not only that situation that we broke down, but any situation. We're just going to use that as an example.
Hmm.
Situation as an example.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I think your settings are looking all good to me based on what you said. Just a couple more questions. You'll use reload behavior, is that contextual tap?
Yes.
Apply all for armor plates.
Yep.
Slide behavior tap.
I think so. Let me see. Yep.
Yep, automatic sprint. Is that tactical sprint?
Yep.
Alright, cool. And audio mix. Is that boost low?
Yep.
Alright, sweet. That's all good. Um, Loadouts. What guns are you currently rocking? I see you got the Kar 98.
Um, yeah, so I have my favorite ones. Well, yeah, right now I'm using Car 98 and I think a Bullfrog for Rebirth, because it can take like a lot of ammo. Um, can
Yep.
I can I like when you ask me about like what my weaknesses are, I think there's something that I'm
Yep.
100% sure of that I'm not good at, right?
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
so a couple things. Um, One of them, well, I'm working on this one a little bit, right? It's like I have a hard time remembering certain parts of the map. Like I feel like most people would go to a certain place and they could recall the routes on in a building with a lot more detail. Just like some people, like they can't remember names. I'm not too bad at remembering names. But I had to work on that. And so right now I'm working on trying to remember locations a lot better because I think it helps with sound, right? And then the other thing I think is my biggest weakness right now is the sound. It's like most of the time I I look at other players, people that I know, and they somehow know precisely where somebody is, and I always get that wrong. Like fucking all the time, the sound fucks me up, and I think it's because like by default I'm not like a sensing person. I don't know if you know about Myers-Briggs profiles. No? Hello?
I don't know what that is. Nope.
So it's
Yeah,
basically
I heard you, yeah. Sorry.
yeah. So it's like this test that you do, and it just gives you like an idea of how your brain is wired and what parts of the brain that you
Right.
use most. And so I'm more like an intuitive person. So like my like my the work that I do is photography, right? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So
Cool.
um, but so I'm always imagining things, and things are always in my mind running. And I know that the players from what I've seen that are just like default better at FPS games, they have what you call more sensing instead of like being intuitive and having like a lot of ideas in their minds. So I'm working on my sensing a little bit. Sensing is just like the people use their senses a lot more to build up their memory bank. So like I remember concepts very easily, but I'm slowly starting to learn how to use my senses. I'll give you an example, right? So like I some people that I know, they tell me that every time they hear a sound, right? Not in video games, just in normal real life, they're thinking things. It's like, where did that sound come from? What is it? What made that sound?
Yep.
And then
Yep.
for somebody
Uh-huh.
like me, I was like, wait, what? I never fucking do that. Like, it's just a sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they look at me and it's like, what's wrong? I
Yeah.
was like, so so I know that I suck at that, right? And
Yep.
I'm slowly like and so like with my thumb, I slowly started to like feel the movements and feel my muscles because I didn't know anything about that. I had to read like a lot of books to find out like, hey man, your thumb is it's telling you something. Like listen to me. It's like really. And so right now my biggest thing is the sound. I really suck at that, and I was hoping to maybe you could help me to.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, so what it seems like to me is you're hearing things, but like you said, you're not really thinking about what the sounds are. You're just hearing them and expecting to kind of figure out where it's coming from, and then you
Mhm.
can't figure it out, and then you're left clueless. You said you're intuitive, which means that you generate ideas in your head, which is going to come in handy later when we talk about thinking in people's shoes and positioning. So that's going to be a big positive for you.
Mhm.
But for sound and for information in general, there are a few ways that you can accurately pinpoint where something is coming from.
Mhm.
Now, when we combine a bunch of areas that we're very likely going to talk about together, you'll always know where everything is coming from, where everything is, what everything happening around you, like the reason for everything happening around you. You're going to know everything,
Mhm.
or ideally you should know everything once you practice it. But with, information gathering, particularly audio, there's a few ways you can go about pinpointing the location in a structured way. So
Hmm.
at the moment that you get audio information, let's say you hear footsteps and you can't determine if they're above you, below you, or on your level. There are three to four different ways that you can approach the situation. Now, you've heard footsteps. The first way is through what's called a process of elimination. So you've heard footsteps, you're on one level, there's a level below you, level one, you're on level two, and then there's a level above you, level three. You're in some kind of building. Now, process of elimination is when you check one area and confirm that the information is not coming from there. And you've effectively eliminated that one area as a potential place for the information, which leaves the two other places as possible places for that information. So if there are three levels in your building, you've heard footsteps. If you can confirm that one of them is definitely not where the footsteps are coming from, that leaves two levels. You then need to check one more level and confirm that the footsteps is not from there, and then you'll know that the footsteps are coming from that final level. This is a bit difficult in this situation. You ideally want to do a process of elimination when you are pushing a building and there's like four rooms. You want to go about checking each of these four rooms in a structured way, like a checklist where you tick off each room. For this kind of situation, what you ideally want to do is either information pairing or audio cues. So information pairing is when you have one piece of information, footstep audio, but that on its own is not enough to conclude where the footsteps are coming from. So you then need to pair it with another piece of information. Now, this other piece of information could be a door opening, a metallic door smashing, a window breaking, supply box opening. So it could be anything, or it could be some visual information, a heartbeat sensor perhaps, or red dots on the minimap. If you can combine these two pieces of information together, you can conclude where they are. So you know if they're below you, if there's no doors above you and there's no doors on your level and you hear a door open, then the doors come from below and you've also heard footsteps, therefore they're below you. Or if you know there are no supply boxes above you, you know there are no supply boxes below you, but you know there are supply boxes on your level and you've heard footsteps, you can conclude that they're on your level. Final thing you can do is sort of like what your friends were saying, pay attention to the audio that you've heard. So, not just footsteps that you've heard, it's footsteps on a particular type of surface that you've heard. You've heard footsteps on grass, or you've heard footsteps on concrete, or you've heard footsteps on a metallic roof. You haven't just heard footsteps, you've heard it on a surface. Now you need to think about what kind of surface you've heard it on and where that surface is in respect to your current location, if that makes sense.
Mhm. I've been trying like so that part with the surfaces I'm working on that, but sometimes there's buildings where the surface is all the same, you know what I mean? Like it's wooden, it's like a
Yep.
wooden building and it's like fuck. So right now, like I mean, the only thing I'm telling like in my mind because I'm so frustrated is like every time I hear a sound, it's the opposite of where I think it is. So that's a new thing
Yeah.
that I'm trying to do because like fuck, every time I think it's at the enemy's at the top, they're at the bottom. It's like fuck. So just do the
Yeah.
opposite. Is that a thing?
Yeah. You're just Yeah, I mean, you're just trying to think about whether they're on top or bottom. You're not really using any evidence to back up your claim, or you're not forming some sort of hypothesis about whether they're on top or whether they're on bottom. Now, whatever you do in this game, we're going to talk a lot in detail about how you need to approach situations and how you need to think, but whatever you do in this game, you need to make a plan ahead. So when you get information, you need to think about what that information is. You need to plan ahead how you're going to deal with this situation. Are you going to go push them? Are you going to go for the kill? Or are you going to run away? But you need to think about like what other information that you have. Is there any evidence to suggest that he is above you or below you? Um, have you come from above already, and now you're one level below, and now you hear something above? Well, or you think you hear something above? Well, probably not. You've just come from above, so he's probably
Mm.
not above. He's probably below because you haven't checked below yet. So you can look for open doors. Have the doors been opened above? If they're closed, maybe he's not above. Maybe he's below. Um, Information pairing, process of elimination. Now, these are things that you can do in that moment to help you figure out where they are. You can't just hear footsteps and be like, oh, I think they're above. Because, like, what do you mean by you think they're above? Why do you think they're above? You need some evidence to back that
Mm.
up, if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. And then what happens if I can't get the evidence? Like
Well,
if I.
if you can't get information, yeah, if you're struggling to get information, and you feel that you have, we're going to talk about this later, but if you feel that you're confident in what you have, so you have loadout, whatever else, and you think perhaps he's got ground loot, and you're confident you can easily kill him, you need to be actively trying to get more accurate information or getting more information. Now you can heartbeat, you can UAV, you can process of a limb, slide cancel to an ADS to check every corner, check every room, confirm he's not there, confirm he's not there, narrow down the places that he can be at. So being proactive with your information gathering is one thing you can do, but if you simply cannot figure out where he is, just disengage, go somewhere else. You can't
Mhm.
figure out where he is, well, in a really good spot that you don't know of because you don't know the map very well, or he's actively hiding from you or running away from you, or um, you simply haven't been approaching your information gathering in a structured way. But no matter what the case may be, if you're struggling in situations, you need to just disengage. You're not
Mhm.
doing yourself any favor by sticking around in a situation in which you're not completely confident with. You have to disengage it. You have to run away, go somewhere
Mhm.
else.
Okay, sometimes I do that. But I just like I was the way like I look at it is that okay, I'm learning and I'm okay with making mistakes and I'm okay with dying. Um,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, uh, yeah. I mean, but I'm like I said, like I feel like the sound. I've recently started working on that. Like maybe like maybe 3 weeks. But when I say working on it,
Yeah.
it's like trying to remember sounds now. You know what I mean? Like, but
Yeah.
not intensely. I'm not like I was doing aiming like intensely for a bit, and also because I was doing that, I was my decision making started to suck and all that. But now I'm kind of bringing it back. Like I think my decision making is decent. And everything's like a decent place right now. But like sometimes when I'm working on something, the other things suffer. But like this sound, I'm slowly trying to work on that. But I mean, yeah, yeah. I guess from what I'm getting from you is that I just need to keep working on it and picking up more details. Like one of the things that stood out to me was what I got was that okay, if you're entering a location, it's good to start remembering things. Like if you're going from bottom to top, it's good to start remembering what's at the bottom as soon as you get there. So you close the doors, and then you kind of have an idea if somebody was behind you, or they're probably coming from downstairs because you
Hmm.
close all the doors. So that was I never thought about that. I haven't gotten like studied it that much that was a thing.
Uh-huh.
So that was nice.
Yeah. So no matter where you are, where you're going, you always want to be getting evidence, information about these areas. So if you're approaching a building, you need to be looking, first of all, signs of entry, open doors, broken windows. You need to be thinking worst case scenario. You see an open door in a building that you're approaching, worst case scenario, they are in there. They haven't just gone through it, but they're still in there. That's what you need to assume. That's what you need to play around.
Hmm.
So your assumption there is that they're still in there. You make a decision based on that. But one thing you can't do is just rely on one source of information. So you can't just
Okay,
rely on all information alone.
one
So
sec, one
that
sec.
that'd be a downfall to do that. Yeah.